We're just going to start now. We're going to continue here to about 10 o'clock at night. We just have a short program, maybe about an hour 15's worth of getting a chance to properly honor this 2016 Hall of Fame class. And before we kind of officially get going with the new inductees, we'd like to welcome the athletic director here at ETSU, Dr. Richard Sander, to welcome everyone.
Thanks, Jay. This is really an exciting night for so many of our folks who have done so much for ETSU. I think as an athlete, one of the things that you always appreciate so much is being recognized for your efforts, for what you've done, and all the hard work and dedication that you've put forward. And this is the ultimate realization of all that work that you have put in. And I think to be recognized in this way is something pretty special. So tonight is a great night for our 8 inductees. And I think, when we started to talk about who are the people that are going to be inducted into the ETSU Hall of Fame, these people's names really came to the surface. It wasn't like there was very much discussion. These people clearly were above and beyond anybody else that we really considered. So I think this is a great night. I'm a little bit sad that because of the weather, some of the people who could be here couldn't really get here, but I think, that really doesn't detract from the success that each one of these inductees has had as an ETSU athlete. As we move forward, we really talk about excellence every day in our athletic program. And each of our inductees, I know that was kind of their focus. I'm going to be the best athlete that I can possibly be. I'm going to be the best teammate that I can possibly be. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to win for myself, but also for my teammates and for ETSU. So I really want to say thank you to each one of those, because each one of you have really raised the ETSU brand on a national and international level. So thank you so much for your dedication, your commitment, and all the success and hard work that you put forward to make ETSU what it is today. There are great days ahead for ETSU, and one of the things that I always kind of feel good about is every one of you were kind of the people that really built the foundation. The success that our athletes have today and in the future is basically because of what you have done. So I just want to thank you for what you've done. We want to celebrate your story, your success, and I think this is a great night. So enjoy every second of it, and we're excited about the future at ETSU, and thank you so much.
Our first inductee, Erin Ashton, was a 4-year letter winner at ETSU women's soccer program from 2002 to 2005. When she left, she was the career leader in goals scored with 35. She still ranks second career in assists with 24, shots attempt 159, fourth in points, and a single season with 29. As impressive as she was on the field, more impressive off the field, she won the NCAA Postgraduate Scholarship, which goes to student athletes with an overall GPA at 3.2, and intended to continue her academic work. 4-time SoCon honor roll recipient, and was named to the ETSU Dean's List all 4 years, and in 2005 named to the Nationals Dean List, and now currently is an OBGYN, so Dr. Ashton. So she could not be here, and was very heartbroken today, and asked if she could send in a video. And so from her house in Iowa, she sent this video earlier today.
City. As you guys probably know, there was a big blizzard that hit the Johnson City area in the south, so all flights were canceled, and unfortunately I was unable to make it today. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who put on the events for today for the 2016 induction to the Hall of Fame. Joanne Patey, Brian Johnson, the Alumni Association, and everyone else that was involved in picking the inductees for the 2016 Hall of Fame. Also, a big congratulations to all the other inductees. I was looking forward to meeting all of you or seeing some of you again. Zakee and Jerald, I can't believe it's been over 10 years. Life goes by very, very fast. Also, if Doug Taylor is there, I will miss putting my arms around your neck and giving you a big hug today. There were a few questions that they wanted me to answer. I'll try and do these really briefly since I know I'm Skyping in from afar. The first question was why I decided to come to East Tennessee. Well, several reasons. Number one, I couldn't not come to East Tennessee because they recruited me through the fall season. I drove up through the North Carolina mountains into Tennessee, and just the leaves changing on the trees. There was no way I could go anywhere else. But also, Coach Henson told me when she recruited me that it was going to be a rebuilding program and that I would be part of building a program in Johnson City. And that was important to me. The academic portion, I knew I wanted to go to medical school. So the combination of the academics, the athletics, as well as the opportunity to build a program are what inspired me to come there. And just seeing as far as the women's soccer team has come, and now adding on a men's soccer team, having our own stadium, Summers Taylor Stadium, I got to play an alumni game there. It's absolutely beautiful. So for all the funding and everything that went into getting that stadium so that we could play on campus, and just seeing the fruits of our work while we were at East Tennessee playing in those beginning days is very, very awesome to see. So glad that they've made progress for soccer in East Tennessee. Go Bucks. Also, one of the other questions, some of my favorite on the field, off the field memories. Can't forget the ice tub baths, all the long road trips on the bus, and then lastly, one time Coach made us wrestle on the beaches of Florida after a game where we didn't play tough enough. So we thought we were going out for a nice beach stroll and ended up wrestling each other. So that was a fond or not so fond memory, but either way, a memory from being involved there. Lastly, they asked the connection between being a doctor and playing soccer at East Tennessee, and I think those go hand in hand. Being a physician, you have many of the same attributes as being an athlete. Sometimes days in residency can seem like doing 3 days or 4 days, so I felt very well equipped for being in the medical field after playing soccer. So yeah, anyways, I just want to say congratulations to everyone. Sorry that I'll miss you guys. It's a big honor and privilege to be named to the Hall of Fame. A big step for women's soccer and for sports all around at East Tennessee. So go Bucks. One other thing they wanted me to do is an undecided funny question to answer. So I just finished a residency at the University of Connecticut, and I'm doing a fellowship at the University of Iowa, big sports schools, and no fans are better than the East Tennessee Buck fans. Good seeing you guys. Have a great day.
And that is she's the first ever women's soccer to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. So Erin Ashton, unfortunately, as you could tell, very disappointed that she couldn't make it. Our next inductee representing men's golf went to ETSU from 76 to 78. Allan Strange finished fourth in the 1976 NCAA championships, later played on the PGA. Allan also earned all Ohio Valley Conference All-American honors in 1976 while helping the Bucks to an OVC title. In 1977, he competed in the Sun Bowl Classic against a field of All-Americans. He also was one of 8 U.S. players to take a trip to Japan to play against their best. And our newest inductee in the ETSU Hall of Fame, Allan Strange.
Do I need this? Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me okay? No? It's not what I want to hear.
Well, the first question, I like to start off a little light. Me and my wife have twin boys. You're a twin. What kind of shenanigans should I expect that you and Curtis got into?
A lot. We didn't do too much of that when we were growing up. There may have been an instance with a girlfriend here and there, just purely by accident. But we were kind of too busy challenging each other competitively and whatever. And one comment about the twin thing is that every once in a while he or I will get a question about what's it like being a twin, right? Well, my response is, what's it like not being a twin? It's normal for us. All you guys who don't have a twin are disadvantaged. It's you know, I had a companion, I had a best friend, my fiercest competitor, and my biggest supporter, and someone who has your back your whole life. I mean, good Lord, what better cool thing to have in life? And to this day we talk. And so, anyway, what's it like not having a twin? That's what I say.
Well, golf in your family obviously is the main sport, and your dad Tom was obviously an accomplished golfer. We all know about your brother. When did you first kind of get the bug and the love of golf, and was that with your dad, or how did that come about?
Good question. Dad, most of you may not be aware, my dad was a very good player and died at an early age, but he's in 2 Hall of Fames, and Curtis was very good early on. So Dad nurtured my brother very early, from 10, 12, 14 years of age, and we were 14 when Dad passed, and he nurtured me athletically, which I think was a bonus. My dad was a very good golfer, but also a very good athlete, and just being there, supportive, encouraging, understanding that he had one guy over here playing pretty good golf. He wanted the other guy to do other things, and my favorite was baseball. And so, you know, he never saw us play good golf. He never had the chance to see us develop in life. And he got cheated, not us. But the cool thing about it was he laid the groundwork for us to be good competitors. You know, say yes or no, sir. Keep our hair short, most times in life, and just kind of let us build he built the building blocks for us to do what we kind of did later in life, and it was only a couple 3 years, but as we all know with our parents, it's those couple 3 years from 10 to 14 or whatever it may be is very meaningful.
Well, let's talk about your NCAAs. You finished 4th there. You played on some great teams. I think the team back-to-back was 6th and 7th in the NCAAs. What do you remember about playing in those tournaments and those big-time environments, and then also your teammates and how they helped kind of challenge you?
Wow. I'm going to give you a long answer. When I think of East Tennessee, I think of Coach Morrison, I think of my education, and I think of my teammates. And the longest lasting part of that is my memory of Coach. He's no longer here with us, and my friends. And to this day, my best friends in the world are my teammates. All of us who played college sports and even high school sports, you spend hours and hours with these guys and girls, and you still stay in touch. And it may be a little more impressive with golf because it's a smaller group. Golf, you can stay connected, et cetera. So I think, and unfortunately the weather, you talk about a table, we would have a hellacious table if all the guys could get in here from last couple of days, and they couldn't. We would have had a table of 12, 15 guys. So I appreciate everybody showing up that has. But as far as 75, 76, and I may put 2 questions in one. I think of the 75, 76 team as the sort of the start of expectations changed at East Tennessee as far as golf. You know, there were some great players before, the Larry Hensons, the Bobby Wads, the Jay Bumgarners and J.C. Sneeds, but they never put a team together. In 75, there was a hell of a team that went to Ohio State and came in 6th or 7th, and we followed up in 76. And so when I look at the evolution of college golf at East Tennessee, I don't look at a Hal Morrison era or a Fred Warren era. I look at it as a total era. And expectations change within college golf regarding East Tennessee. I really do believe that. And then Fred showed up in the late 80s and just took it to an expansive, quick era and expanded it and did very, very well. And we watch, by the way, Fred. You know, we pay attention. We may not talk to you often, we pay attention. And so, but, you know, so the evolution of East Tennessee golf is absolutely amazing for a school in the hills of Tennessee. Think about it. You know, we get bad weather, but all of a sudden, but at the same time, we have great teams. And I think the expectations in college golf in general has changed based on what we did in the middle 70s. I think it's pretty cool.
So just a quick follow-up to that. So, and you mentioned you follow, but what kind of pride do you see, not just when you see the college rankings or you turn on and we're doing well in college golf, but you see a lot of so many ETSU golfers in the professional ranks. Do you pay attention to that and take pride that they're sort of a brethren?
Absolutely, but I also go beyond that. I take pride in these people that play college golf and student athletes, East Tennessee in general, that have gone on in life and been very successful in other walks of life other than sports. You know, such a small percentage of us go on and are successful in professional athletics. But I take pride in the student athlete East Tennessee that's gone on in life and been successful in business, giving back to the community. That's more important to me.
Let's backtrack a little bit. 1976, you go to the NCAAs, and you have a unique situation that I don't know how many people have had this, but you were matched up with your brother in a round.
I beat his ass too. So the question is, actually, it was interesting. In '76, you know, you're kind of distracted. You know, you're really, of all the athletes in this in class this year, and anybody who's played college or high school athletics, you know, there's a point in time where you're playing in the most important tournament or whatever competition in your career, and in college it's NCAA stuff, right? And in golf it's the NCAA tournament, and so here, you know, East Tennessee goes, and we're pretty confident, but we can't compete against Wake Forest and Florida's and Houston's. We know that, but we're a great B+ team, and we know top 10, top 12 is our objective. And lo and behold, I play pretty good, and the team overall is playing pretty good, and by God, I get paired with my brother the third round. Now you talk about a freaking distraction. Here, he's the best player in the team, I mean, in the country, and yet Keith Fergus, who's our third, is probably the third or fourth best player in the country. But my point is that it was a tremendous distraction. In the pairing party the night before, the coaches said, we can't let them play together because it'd be too big an advantage for Allan and Curtis. Well, Coach Hannock at Wake Forest stood up and said, you don't know these guys. It's going to be a huge disadvantage. You know, I'm my brother's biggest supporter, and he's mine. And now all of a sudden for 5 hours, he was not my brother. He was the enemy. And it was a huge distraction. And all I can say, I told you the other day, I was never in my life have I been more nervous on the first tee of that round. And years later, we talked about it, and Curtis said, same here. Here he's the best player in the country and went on and did his thing. And yet, most nervous he was ever been in golf was on the first tee with me on the third round of the NCAA. And I'm proud to say we all three had played a respectable round, but it was totally an unnecessary distraction. And we went on, you know, that's okay, you know, life's full of distractions, sports is too, and we went on and did okay as a tournament and as a round, so that was okay, but kind of funny story.
Last question, be a common question for the Hall of Fame class, but you get the phone call that I'm sure you didn't know was coming. You get a phone call, hey, you're a Hall of Famer. You know, what did that feel like, and now you've had a little bit of time to reflect, what does that mean to you?
I'll do better today than I did yesterday, by the way. I think at 60, I can reflect differently than some younger people. I look at my I look at my 4 years at ETSU as a partnership. I really did, and I didn't know it at 18, 20, but I know it now at 60. And they gave me a lot. You know, they gave me time and effort and money and education. By God, I mean, the greatest thing you can give your child or give someone in life is an education. And I remember Coach Morrison, when he called and offered me a scholarship, he said, all I want you to do is come and develop your game and work hard. And I gave him both for 4 years. And but over the years, you think about, did I deliver on my end of the bargain? You know, sure, I got I got an education. Sure, I did certain things. But did I hold up my end of the bargain because they gave me so much? And then when Dick Sander called 2 months ago, and you and I talked yesterday, and tonight, I got my answer. You know, maybe I did. And maybe in some small way in the middle 70s, I was a meaningful part of this golf program. And so all I can say tonight is thank you. Thank you for tonight. It's unbelievably meaningful in my life, and thank you for my 4 years here. Thank you very much.
Allan Strange, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations. Our next Hall of Famers, representative of the track and field team. It's Catherine Berry, competed for ETSU cross-country track and field from 1997 to 2000. During her career, she earned All-American honors in the 5,000 meters in 2000 and made 6 trips to NCAA meets, 3 for cross-country and 3 for track and field. Berry holds the Buccaneer record for the outdoor 5,000 meters with a time of 16 minutes .97, which she set in 2000. Additionally, she won Southern Conference indoor titles in the 3,000 meters, 5,000 meters in 1998 and 2000, and she was named the SoCon Cross Country Runner of the Year in 1997. Please welcome our newest inductee, Catherine Berry. So I talked to Catherine a second ago, but I didn't tell her the first question, which is, how many miles have you ran in your lifetime? Over, under, million? What are we talking here?
Well, when I was training competitively, I'd probably run close to 70 a week. And I probably ran that for 7 years. Now it's hit and miss. I mean, if I run, I run. If I don't, I don't. So, I mean, probably close to 1,000, just over a 7-year period, maybe more.
I'm always curious, because you have an interesting story. I'm always curious how athletes come to ETSU, but you came to the States and went to Arkansas first and then came to ETSU.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I ended up at the University of Arkansas in 1995-96. I ended up not liking it there. Big school, probably should have really been recruited by a smaller school, probably just the environment I was going to thrive in. The assistant coach at Arkansas got the head job at East Tennessee State. I had a friend who was coming to Johnson City to train from the University of Arkansas, and the women's coach at the time had been a former student athlete at the University of Arkansas. Kind of weird, all the ties with the University of Arkansas, but ended up here. The coach at Arkansas did say to me, he's like, now remember that Arkansas is in the Ozark Mountains and East Tennessee State is in the Appalachian Mountains. He's like, do you really think you're going to like it there either? And when I first stepped off the plane, I knew I was going to like it here. I mean, it's just, I knew I was going to be comfortable, and 20 years later, I'm still here. Never left. Never left.
Well, that tells a thing. Let's talk about some of your fond memories of being as an athlete here at ETSU.
A memory of being an athlete, a competitive memory, would be cross-country race at Appalachian State. Big rivals. Was racing the NCAA champion in the 1500. She ended up being the NCAA champion in the 1500. So it was a big rivalry. I was leading the race for most of the way. It was a loop course. I ended up going the wrong way. Nobody told me. She went the right way, and everyone cheered her, and it ended up being a sprint finish, and I lost by 4/100ths of a second.
Wow. What are some of your memories, not in competition, but just practice around town? What do you think most about?
Non-competition, funnily enough, it was probably the blizzard of 1998. Yeah, we were all international students. We had no cars. It was like 10 days where there was no electricity, there was no groceries coming in, no trucks could get in. They didn't forecast the blizzard, and we woke up and it was like knee deep. And we all ended up camping out at the Catholic Center on the Tree Streets. And for like a week, we just laid around, tried to cook on one gas can, and we're still expected to attend practice, funnily enough, and we were like, Coach, we can't shower. He's like, so? But that was a really fond, ironically fond memory of being a student athlete and caught up in a snowstorm. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the NCAA championships in 2000. Take us to the sort of the work to get to that point and what that year and what that particular meet was like.
2000 NCAA championships outdoors was at Duke University. It was extremely hot. It was probably 102 degrees. Had a kind of funny approach to getting there. I was asked if I really wanted to go to the NCAA championships, and I did. It was my last meet. Ended up going. That last year, that 2000, was the year I broke the school record in the 5,000. So it was probably my best consistent year of training. And I wanted to go out on a high note. And so I knew I enjoy running in the heat. And it was just, I could have run better, and I also could have run worse, and it kind of all came together just how we really wanted it to. But if I look back and think of the first mile of the 5K, did not think I would end up All-American in that race. I didn't feel great, but it's almost like just keep going, and you know all the work you've put in. And that was probably the end highlight of my career, was being All-American outdoors.
Same question again. A lot of Hall of Famers are going to get. You get the word. You're a Hall of Famer. What was your first thoughts of that? And then also, now that you've had a little time to think about it, what does it mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not. It seems like there's more males in the Hall of Fame than females. I know Kim Bird is another female track athlete. It means a lot that I retired once I had my daughter Mari, and I went to buy a pair of running shoes maybe last year, and my husband's in the track industry and he was in London, and I said, Mari, I just want to look at a pair of running shoes. And she looked at me and she said, why? If you were a runner, you'd be in London with Papa. She has no idea I ever ran, because I retired and I've been a stay-at-home mom. So it was great because she got to see that I really did run, and
Pretty good at it.
I was, I was
pretty
okay
good,
at
right?
it.
Yeah.
So it means a lot to me. I mean, I'm not going to go around telling people I used to run, or if I was good or not good. So being in the Hall of Fame it kind of validifies everything I've done through college without having to tell everybody what I did through college. So it's a great honor, and I really appreciate being nominated for the Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, Catherine Berry, our Hall of Famer. Thank you. Our next Hall of Famer is Bill Casey, played from 1968 to 1970. He was an All-American defensive back. He's best known for one of the best secondary squads in ETSU football history. The Bucs still hold the Ohio Valley Conference record for interceptions in a season, 34 in 1969. I didn't even know they threw it that many times back then. Bennett's Bandits was what they were nicknamed. They also were the same team in the Grantland Rice Bowl in 1969, where they defeated Terry Bradshaw. Casey's numbers, he tied the record for most interceptions in the season. He had 11 of those 34 interceptions in 1969. He's also tied for career interceptions, 22 in career interceptions, 1968 to 1970. Bill, unfortunately, is not with us today, but we do have two members that are going to accept the award for Bill Casey, his brother Mike, and everyone knows longtime trainer Dr. Jerry Robertson. This is for Bill Casey, ladies and gentlemen.
This may be a little rough. There's 9 years difference between Bill and I. And I really didn't have the opportunity to watch him play much due to military service, being out of country, etc. But when we did get in touch, I'd get a phone call every Sunday morning. We won, we lost. I said, Bill, how'd you do? I did okay. Next week, same thing. I did okay. Little All-American came up. I congratulated him. I did okay. I'd love to hear those words tonight. From the football standpoint, Jerry was very close to me. We went to school together here, and Billy thought the world of him. So I asked him to help me. Thank you.
Jerry, what kind of athlete was Bill when he was here?
He was unselfish. He was dedicated to his position. He never asked for anything more than the other players on the team got. Even when he was, had all of his records and interceptions and things, he was still Bill Casey and William Francis Casey. And he was well liked by his team and teammates. He was a team leader. He worked hard at it. He didn't do a lot of talking. He was very quiet. I remember. I'll back up a little bit. The baseball coach called me and said, "We've got a baseball player coming in from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and I think his brother played here before, and was a football player, but this boy's going to play baseball for us." So I looked up Bill when he got here, and we went and had a meeting, I guess you'd say, and because of my relationship with Mike in our days at ETSU, and your first impression is important, and here was a guy with a good first impression, a big smile. He talked about his brother and what his brother had done and how proud he was of you, Mike, and what you had done. And in so many words, he told me that he would like to carry on what his brother had started, whether it was the family torch or what, but he wanted to do. And he wasn't cocky, but he let me know that he was proud of his brother and he wanted to do as good as he could here at ETSU.
Now, Mike, did he play high school football?
No, Billy never played high school football. It was baseball, and played in the recreation leagues baseball. Let me add to what Jerry was saying. When he found out that Billy was going to play football, he called and told me. And I said, "Bill, what are you doing when you're there on a baseball scholarship?" "Mike, I want to beat your butt." And he did.
What was he like off the field, Jerry? You're around, the trainers know more about anybody, as you know.
Well, he was always quiet. He was polite. He was always a gentleman. It was always yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. He didn't do a lot of talking, but he's like a lot of people in this room. He came to ETSU, made a lot of friendships, relationships that developed, I think, into a love for the university. He graduated, and he'd call once a year. Then he'd call twice a year. And then the last few years, he'd call sometimes 3 times. We'd talk. And he'd call at various hours, I'll say. But we had some good conversations. But it's always what's happening at the university. What are they building? What's going on? He'd ask about a lot of his teammates that had stayed in this area. like Grindstaff and Judge Walton and those that were on the 69 team with him. And then he'd ask about professors that he had. You know, were they still in the classroom, what was going on, and those things. He had a great love for his teammates, his university, in a quiet manner that I think that he wanted to express more than he did sometimes. His teammates, they, even up until his passing, they had a good relationship of go back with the Bennett Bandits. So he was a leader there, and one of the big things that was always going on there was he was only one from the north, and the other 4 was from the south, but they continually had this thing going, but he'd always remind them to read their history books and find out who won the war. and that continued for years. But his relationship with his teammates and his concern about the university and his teammates lasted until our last phone call. He was asking a lot of questions.
I don't know how to phrase this, you know, in a way, but, you know, what do you think Bill would have thought about being inducted? I know you both talked about how, I'll talk to you separately about just how humble he is. And also, Mike, for the family, what does this mean to you guys to see Bill enshrined tonight?
From the family standpoint, you can't explain it. Bill's standpoint, it would be, I did okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Casey, our newest inductee. You did great. We're going to stick with the football theme. It just seems like I'm all right. Seems like the football theme, whenever you talk football, it just seems like no matter how you flip it around, it's either 69 or 96, 96, 69. But to see the next couple groups to be inducted, and I say groups because we're going to bring up the next two groups are going to be inducted, were teammates and very integral parts to great teams. And in football, the 96 team achieved things in the playoff era that nobody else did. And the receiver of that group was B.J. Adigun. He was the Southern Conference Male Athlete of the Year. Just to put that in context, in the Southern Conference, some of the Male Athlete of the Years are Charlie Choo-Choo Justice, Jerry West, who's on the NBA logo, most recently Steph Curry. B.J. Adigun's name is right there on amongst the best for that season. So just to put that into perspective for you. But he enjoyed one of the most decorated careers at ETSU. He was named the SoCon Football Player of the Year as well in '97, All-American, First Team Honors, a finalist for the 1AA National Player of the Year in '97. Adigun finished his career as the program leader in receptions with 172, 2,802 yards, 26 receiving touchdowns, multiple single-game and season marks to even bring up at this moment. And the man that threw it to him, Greg Ryan, holds the distinction as quarterbacking that team to a 10-3 record in 1996, directed the squad to its first playoff victory against Villanova. Ryan still holds passing records for attempts, completions, touchdowns. It includes single-game records, seasons, and careers. He holds the mark for career passing yards, 8,376. Teammates, Greg Ryan, B.J. Adigun, our newest inductees. Now, Greg, I'm going to let you go second on the first question. And BJ has a distinction here. He actually played with 2 ETSU Hall of Fame quarterbacks because Todd Wells was inducted a couple years ago. So my question is, did you make them or they make you? Greg, you get to go next. So just keep whatever he gets to say.
Well, I will say this. I only played one season with Todd Wells. So How much credit I can get for him being in the Hall of Fame, I'm not sure. But I did play 3 seasons with this guy. So I'm going to take all the credit for him sitting next to me right now.
What was it like to have him throw you the football, though, honestly?
You know, one thing I can say about Greg that he doesn't get enough credit for was he was an extremely accurate passer. I mean, I could tell you guys a really quick story. Our junior season, we played East Carolina in East Carolina. So this was the 96 team. We were pretty good, right? Heading into that game, we had just beat Liberty, I think, which was a ranked team. And I had a decent game. I had about 8 catches, 100 yards. And so when I first lined up, we broke the huddle and I lined up. The whole secondary and all the linebackers said, there's number 10, there's number 10, there's number 10, right? So I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a pretty long game if every time I line up, they're going to be hollering where I'm at. So in about the third quarter, the big third down, about 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, something like that, and we had this little route we used to call the delay route. So I played on the inside. I was the slot receiver, and usually I run about an 8 to 10 yard slant across the middle. So I'm going to line up, and of course they're saying, there's number 10, right? And they played what they call this combo coverage. So they had a guy in the middle of the field that was going to take away anything to the middle, and they had another guy over the top. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm not getting this pass, right? I'm just going to run right down the field, and hopefully somebody else will get open. And I saw Greg kind of give me the look. And, you know, when Greg gives you the look, that means you're getting the ball. And I felt like saying, no, I don't want the ball right now. But he threw this pass in the only spot I could catch it. And, I mean, there was a guy right on my hip on the inside, and there was a guy screaming at me over the top. And Greg put that ball like 2 yards in front of me, right over the shoulder of this kid who was on my hip. Now, I would like to say this story has a happy ending, and I make this great catch, and we get the first down. But I dove for it, and it bounced off the ground, and Greg gave me that other look that he gives his receivers when they don't make the play.
What was it like, Greg, throwing to BJ?
Well, BJ, you know, I'll have to say this. I played at ETSU. I played with a lot of fantastic receivers, but BJ was one of the best. I mean, the numbers that you called off before we come up here, you know, says it all. BJ, from day one, BJ and I had a good chemistry. He, like he said, he played the slot receiver, so in the slot in our system was kind of the go-to receiver. So, you know, in lots of cases, BJ was my first read. And, you know, obviously in any situation playing quarterback, you want to try to get it out of your hand because you know that you don't have a lot of time to set back there. So, you know, so there's a lot of opportunities that I got to throw to BJ, and he was fantastic.
Take me through how you guys came here to ETSU, how you came to the decision to play football here.
Well, you know, I was through high school. I was recruited by you know, a few colleges, and ETSU. The biggest things for me with rewards for the ETSU was several things. You know, John City's a great area. It always has been. I've lived in Chattanooga. I've lived in Knoxville, but you know, my time in John City was a lot of my favorite times, and maybe one day I may move back to John City. Who knows? But one of the biggest reasons athletically was, you know, from playing sports your whole life, you always want to. I couldn't foresee a chance to get redshirted. So, you know, as on every recruiting visit that I went to, one of my first questions was, can I have a chance, if I can beat the starter out, can I have a chance to play day one? And believe it or not, some college coaches said, quite frankly, no, we've got our starter, you're going to redshirt. And Coach Cavan told me, he said, well, I'm going to play the best guys, and you got the opportunity. If you can win the job, then obviously we'll play you. So, you know, that sold me right up front, and I just couldn't foresee sitting out a whole football season when I'd played sports from day one since I was 5 years old. So, you know, that was one of the keys for me.
I redshirted as a freshman, just so you know. No, I started at Virginia Tech as a redshirt, and actually it's a funny story because one of my high school best friends also played here at ETSU. Anthony Stringfield was a wide receiver here at ETSU, and at the time when I was at Virginia Tech, he was at a prep school, a military prep school called Hargrave Military Academy. And signed with ETSU and gave me a call and said, you know, they're looking for some players to come down there. What do you think? And I said, well, give me a couple days to think about it. And next thing you know, I got Coach Kevin calling my dorm room every 5 minutes, trying to convince me to come down. And, I came down and took a visit and met with Coach Kevin, saw the offense and some of the things, Greg and others were doing in the offense, and thought it would be a really good fit. And from there, the rest is history.
Pretty sure you guys have a lot of good memories, but what's one that sticks out to you playing here for the Blue and Gold?
Just one? I got to come up with just
Or you
one.
can give
memory?
a couple.
I think it's been said here before. I think Mr. Strange talked about it. The thing that I remember the most probably has been just the relationships. The people that you come in contact with. I mean, I haven't seen this guy in who knows how many years. And when I saw him at the basketball game, it was just like old times. As far as a on the field moment, I would say it probably wasn't the game itself, but in '96 when we were having that fantastic season, we played Marshall University at our homecoming that year. And that year they had a really deep squad. That squad included Randy Moss. I think Chad Pennington was on that team as well. So they were pretty loaded. They were the number 1 team in the country, and I think at the time we were number 5 or 6 or something like that. So it was a pretty big game. We played them here at the Dome. And I remember walking up from my car to the Dome to get ready for pregame, and seeing the line at the Dome kind of like almost wrapped around the entire building, seeing all of the tailgating, then getting into the Dome and seeing it absolutely filled to the rafters. They even brought extra seats down on field because people were even camped out for it. I mean, it was the type of atmosphere that you want as a college athlete, and that really sticks out in my mind as to the potential that you have. If you put together a good program here at ETSU, the fans will come and the fans will support it. So, to the AD and to Coach Torbush and everybody else, just keep doing what you're doing, because I think the opportunity is great there and will continue to be great. And that sticks out to me because it was almost like we had arrived. To see that type of enthusiasm about a game was just fantastic.
Well, there's several memories I got on the field. For example, I could sit here and tell you 1,000 stories about things that just were said in the huddle. I mean, it's crazy how one example, we're at my junior year, we're playing at Citadel, and Coach McKnight which was our offense coordinator. He kept calling the same run, so I would get in the huddle and I'd call the same run. Where Sam Haney, the left tackle.
Sullivan South High School coach.
Sullivan South High School coach, yeah. What it was is we kept running the ball. I'm not going to go into details here, but we kept running the ball inside of him. Well, the defensive end kept crashing, and he was making the play, but we were still getting 4 or 5 yards, so, Coach just kept calling it. Well, Sam, I'm looking over here, Coach McKnight, he's giving the signal, and Sam's in my ear. He's saying, and he called me Greenback. He said, Greenback. He said, would you run the sweep one time? He said, the defensive end keeps crashing. And so I'm looking here at the signal. I don't even see the signal. I said, okay, let's run the sweep. So we run the sweep, and the center pulls and chops the safety, and we score. So it was, that's just one memory. I could tell you 1,000, but there was lots of good times here.
You mentioned the '96, and that's I was going to ask you about the camping out. You've already addressed that, so we can skip. But that was one thing. I was a student here. That was one thing I remember. It was the only time in the history of the school, I think, that people were camping out before that. What was so special about that team that made that run? How did it all kind of come together for you guys to put that together?
Well, I think that team was built up, and as far as, and I'll go ahead and cover my Hall of Fame question as I go here. Okay, so I'll knock out 2 with 1. I think to be in the Hall of Fame, and to be a part of that team, the common goal was competitive. I mean, BJ and I were competitive. Playing one-on-one basketball right out here behind the dorms, or playing Monopoly in the dorm rooms. It didn't matter what. We were competitive people, and I'm still competitive to this day. Now you maybe can't tell it with my waistline, and I probably should have been more competitive in the classroom, but it was that I think that was the key, and I think that to be in the Hall of Fame and to get an opportunity to do this is, you got to be a competitive person, number one. And, I like to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to get in the Hall of Fame. And I'd like to follow up with what BJ said, Coach Tor Bush. You're on the right track with all the guys. As ex-football coaches, we believe in what you're doing. You just continue on with the process, and I know we'll be back at some point where we want to be. And it's going to take some time, and anybody that's got any sense when it comes to football, as a football coach myself, you need to understand that it is going to take some time, but we all believe in Coach Torbish, and he'll get it done.
So just to echo his comments about being competitive, when we were going out tonight during the halftime, during the timeout, and waving to the crowd, he looks at me as he's waving. I bet you I could make a shot from half court right here, right now. So he is not lying when he says he's a competitor. He's still got that running through his veins. I would say the thing that made that 96 team pretty special was, I think, a number of things. The year before, Greg remembers this as well, we weren't very good. I think we lost our first 5 games. Our first 5 games were on the road. We played some tough competition. I think we didn't lose by more than 6 or 7 points in any of those games. We played a Toledo team that was ranked in the top 25 that year. We played Tulsa on the road, lost a couple of really tough games in conference. But then after that 5th loss, I think the rest of the way we went 4-1. And I think that really was the foundation going into that next season, because we had the confidence that we knew how to win. And I think with each week, seeing just how good we could be and how much we wanted to compete and win out there, and really just learning how to be successful and how to win, I think that's what led to the success we had in 96. And one final thing I'll say about that 96 team, I think the one thing that team doesn't get enough credit for was we lost to an East Carolina team that we were leading in the 4th quarter, right? And that East Carolina team wound up being in the top 20 in the country, losing to Miami. We lost to Marshall at homecoming. They had 3 first-round draft picks on that team, right? They got a future NFL Hall of Famer in Randy Moss on that team, and we wound up losing to a really tough Montana team in the playoffs on the road in Montana. And one bounce here or there against East Carolina, we probably win that game. We were in the game with Marshall until probably the 4th quarter as well. So one bounce here or there, we probably win that game. And Montana kind of pulled away from us in the second half. So, really, from top to bottom, that's probably the most complete team I've ever played on. And I'm happy that it's finally getting the recognition it deserves, I think.
I'll get your Hall of Fame question in a second, but before I get to that, everyone that's ever played in a dome has a dome story. You have to have a dome story for me at some point in time, right? I mean, half your teammates are over laughing now anyway. So everyone's ever played in a dome, practiced in a dome, tried to shower in a dome. Somebody has a dome story. I'm just curious what.
Well, that's probably stories that wasn't during games that they're laughing about, I'm sure. Because there was actually, we talked Coach Cavan a few times to let us camp in the dome. So we camp out in the dome a few times. And,
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, so I don't know. And that's probably the stories they're thinking of is the times that we camped in the dome. But as far as I love the dome. From a quarterback standpoint, it was fantastic to me because when I was either under center or in shotgun, when you look out in the dome, it feels like, that guy's just standing right there, and that guy's just standing right there. I can really see the defense really well. But then when you go play a road game, after playing in the dome, it feels like, that safety's 75 yards from me. So, I really love the dome. And people that complained about the dome a lot of years, obviously a lot of people feel like that football's meant to be outside. Well, that's your choice. But I always loved it,
I love the dome, too. It took some getting used to, though, for me. I'll be honest with you. I still remember my freshman year during pregame, we would catch punts. All the punt returns would catch punts. And one thing about the dome is it's the depth perception is very difficult to catch punts. So I remember being out there, right, my freshman year, not used to it at all, and we're catching punts, and I'm trying to read the punt, and it's going like 10 yards behind me or falling 5 yards in front of me. And so my buddy Stringfield that I was telling you about, he started getting on me a little bit, like, man, you look like an idiot out here. Come on, you gotta catch one of these punts, right? So You know, timing is everything in life, right? So as the team that we're playing, I think our freshman year we played Catawba our first game. So as the team is coming out to warm up on their sideline, and we're trying to catch these punts, and String is like all in my ear, like, come on, man, you got to catch this one, you got to catch this one. So the punt's in the air, and I run up to it, I'm like, yes, man, I got it. And it bounces like right off of my helmet in front of those players. And they were like, yeah, this is probably going to be a pretty easy night for us.
I think I can find a football. We can go over after. I still compete with you on. I think I can catch punts right now.
We already got Greg's feelings on the Hall of Fame. You've heard the questions you know I'm going to ask. What were your thoughts?
Well, it's funny because I got my call from Coach Torbush. And I also use my cell phone for my work phone. And so my rule of thumb is if I don't recognize the number, I'm not answering it. I usually just let it go into voicemail. So I think Coach called me like 5 times. I almost actually missed the call for the Hall of Fame, believe it or not. But one night I was heading to the grocery store for my wife and got the call. And, you know, I think Catherine said it best. You know, when you're playing, you don't really think about this honor, right? I mean, you just try to go out there, compete, and do the best that you possibly can. And to get that call really meant everything because it kind of confirmed what everybody's been saying up here today is that, you know, you did pretty well over the course of your career, and you did what you set out to accomplish, was to try to be the best version of you that you could possibly be.
Before I let him go, are y'all going to race down the steps, or can I dismiss you now?
No, I think Greg's got that one.
Greg Ryan, BJ Adigun. All right, BJ. That was great. Great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Well, we had another tandem that's going to be introduced. And for those of you basketball fans, great basketball tradition at ETSU, these two guys took it to another level. Ranking 11th all-time on the ETSU scoring list with 1,351 points, Jerald Fields was ranked in the top 10 in multiple statistical categories. He's 7th in field goal percentage. He is 7th in free throws made. He's 8th in rebounding. He's 4th in blocks. He was All-Southern Conference and all-tournament selection in 03, the 2003-2004 season. Jerald, unfortunately, was going to be up here on stage with Zakee. We'll get to Zakee in a second, but Jerald couldn't make it. Both his flights got canceled, and I believe we got Jerald's acceptance video as well, if you'll turn and take a look.
What's up, Buck Nation? This is Jerald Fields signing in from sunny Florida. Just want to say thank you so much for inducting me into the Hall of Fame. I'm truly honored and I'm humbled. I'd like to thank ETSU as an organization. You guys were the perfect fit for me. I couldn't ask for a better school. Also want to thank Kim Reese, Erin Ellis, Pete Perdue, Coach DeChellis, the DeChellis family. Also like to thank the Plummer family. Also like to thank Roger Hammond. Also my teammates, my coaching staff. You know, it wouldn't be anything without Miko Childress teaching me the difference between the high school game and the college game. And last but not least, I'd like to thank my friends and family. I love you guys so much for being there. And I said last but not least, but I meant to say last but not least for Zakee, Wadood. You the man. Just want to say thank you so much for being a brother, man. I couldn't ask for a better person to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with. You're smart, man. You're a hard worker. You're awesome, man. And love you. Signing out. ETSU, go Bucks.
As you'll figure out, Jerald was the talker of the two, so that's Zakee Wadood, all conference. Three of his four seasons was named Conference Player of the Year of the 03-04 year. Currently ranked 9th all time on the scoring list with 1,382 points. Top 10 in rebounds, he's 5th. Steals, he's 3rd. Blocks, he's 2nd. Free throws, he's 9th. All conference tournament selection 02 and 3, and then 03-04. Both those guys have 4 North Division titles. They won 4 regular season championships, 2 trips to the NCAA in 03 and 04, a 3-point loss to Wake Forest in 03, and a 3-point loss to Cincinnati in 04. Please welcome our newest member inductee, Zakee Wadood. Do you have a follow-up to that? I don't even know how you
As you can see, he's the talker of the two, so it's going to be tough, but I'll give it a shot.
Well, the question I was going to ask if he was here, so now it's going to be completely one-sided, you can handle it, but I was going to ask, and let's say in the Cincinnati game, they missed a shot. Let's say Timmy Smith was not going to take the last shot. Who gets the ball, you or Jerald?
Me.
That's what I thought. That's what I was hoping for. Then I was hoping Jerald would yell at you and have a good time.
But it was interesting you bring that game up. We were down 3, and Coach Bartow called a timeout. And he told us, you know, we're going to go for the quick 2. And me and Jerald looking at each other like, what? 2? There's only like 12, 13 seconds left. So I'm like, so we're walking out, and me and Jerald, I'm like, hey, you get the ball, like, but we shooting a 3. Like, we need a 3. But Timmy got the ball, and he tried to get the quick deuce, and we came up short. But that was a funny memory from that game.
Well, let's talk about how you came to ETSU and chose it as your university.
Wow. It all started with me going to, well, we had state championship in '99, high school. Dave Seifert, he recruited me, but I didn't really get an offer until I went to a tournament in Pittsburgh. And I went with my high school coach, who's here today. And after about 2 days there, my high school coach comes to me. He's like, we got to meet with the coach. And I'm like, okay. I wasn't heavily recruited, so you know, I was excited. And he gets in the room, and he's like, you know, I'm Ed DeChellis. Been seeing you play, kind of like your style or whatnot. And he offered me to come to a visit. And I came and came on a visit. D'Amico was my host, D'Amico Childress. He hosted me. Funny story, I was probably the first and only recruit that he lost. Like literally, he lost me. Because I left. I remember being over here at the Davis dormitories, and I was tired. I'd been going all day. Had no sleep, didn't sleep the night before, and I just left. I didn't tell anybody I was leaving. I just walked off. I walked right back over here to the Carnegie. He's calling all the teammates, coaches, and then he finally calls the room, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here, man. I just had enough. I had to go to sleep. So from that moment on.
He never could play defense, in fairness, right?
He could play defense.
Oh, he could.
When he could play. But he had, you know, he had me, he had Jerald, AC, Scooter Johnson. So we helped him out there. But he could play when he wanted to. So long story short, from that experience, I pretty much knew I wanted to come here. And the next day, I met with Ed and them again, and he was saying something, and I just cut him off and said, hey, you got a pen? And he's like, for what? I was like, I'm ready to sign the scholarship. I'm coming. So that's how that came about.
Well, let's talk about, all right, you come to ETSU, freshman year, like most freshmen, they get to see a lot of time. Sophomore year, you start to turn the corner. Team gets pretty good. Both years, freshman, sophomore year, North Division titles. But your junior, senior year, you guys get over the hump, get to the NCAA tournament. What was sort of the difference in turning the corner and getting to the big dance?
I think for me personally, it was just being mature. As a freshman, I didn't play much. Wasn't sure I was going to come back. And so it was hard, you know. And I was talking with Miko about this last night, you know, playing hard in high school and playing hard in college. It's two different worlds. So what I thought was playing hard in my freshman year in college, it wasn't good enough. I wasn't ready. But as an 18-year-old, you don't know that. So he didn't give up on me. Miko didn't give up on me. He just pushed me harder, which, you know, I didn't like it. I didn't like it all the time, but it was needed. And Jerald, he was there, and Coach DeChellis, he was a good coach, but he was a no-nonsense coach. You know, sometimes he could be, you know, too hard on you. You feel like that way anyway. But going from that freshman year and my sophomore year, the sophomore year, that was probably the best team I played on. Even though we went to the tournament my junior and senior year, that team, we had a great year. We lost a lot of people, but we came together. That was probably the best team we played on, but those first 2 years, Adrian Meeks, Scooter Johnson, D'Amico, Jerald, I had to compete with those guys every day. And for those 2 years, I learned how to compete at a high level. I learned what playing hard was, and that is really what I believe got us over the hump, because they had drilled me and Jerald for that mentality of, you know, you guys can't get tired, can't come out. There's no time for that. So that was the mentality that we took into our junior year. You know, I felt like personally I let one slip away my sophomore year because I had the worst game of my career in the tournament that year. So we were very focused. We were very dedicated. Not to mention we had got Tim Smith. He came along. Ben Rhoda came in. I remember Ryan. He started my junior year in the beginning, and then he started coming off the bench. That helped. So allowing those freshmen to come in and us being a leader and Ryan Lawson being a leader, that kind of got us over the hump. But those guys, my first 2 years that I had to battle with every day, that kind of set the stage for my junior and senior year.
So is it fair to say what Miko and those guys were able to do your freshman and sophomore year when you became a junior and sort of that upperclassman, and when you become a great player, you kind of turned into them and pushing the younger guys to that level? Exactly.
I mean, and it's funny because you don't realize it, you know, freshman and sophomore, you take it for granted, you know, because when they left, you know, when he left, he was like the last one. When Miko left, it was like, oh shit, it's me and Jerald now. We got to be the leaders. So it took us some time to grow in that role, but we did it, and I got to thank him and the other players for that.
What are some of your, like I've asked some of the other athletes, what are some of your memories on the court? Is it the 2 NCAAs, or is there something else that sticks out to you as a memory?
I'll never forget, sophomore year, we're at Furman, and I'm tired. I'm dog tired. I need a blow. I come out, and I believe Isaac Potter substituted for me. And, I mean, as soon as I didn't even sit down, I came out, I'm walking to the bench. There's a whistle. We turn the ball over. Miko gives Ike a pass, and he drops it. It runs out of bounds. Next thing you know, he looks around, and he's like, Zach, get your A in here. Get back in here. And I'm like, and I just got up, walked past Coach and them, and I came back in, and he was like, he just pretty much, you can't go out, man. You can't go out. I need you. I need Jerald. Y'all can't go out. And from that point on, I was like, that kind of springboarded me into my last 2 years, because it was that mentality, because he was always there for us. He didn't come out. He didn't get tired, no matter what. So I never forget that. And that was one of the things we talked about last night. We laughed for about 30 minutes discussing that situation. And I told him I'd get him. I'd get him if I got a chance.
What's a good non-game story you got, whether it's off the court or with teammates, a good practice story? What's a good fun story you can give us?
Most of the fun memories were on the court. I was never really, I remember my freshman year, I went home for the Christmas break, and I came back, and I came back like 2 or 3 weeks late because I got caught in the ice storm in Little Rock, so I couldn't fly back for like 2 weeks. I get back, and it's the day of the game. I think we had to go to James Madison, and I mean, I hadn't played, I hadn't practiced in 2 weeks, and I think it was the day of the game I got back, and so I didn't even think I was going to go. Coach tells me to go, tell me I can go. I'm like, okay. And I just remember I'm sitting there. I didn't play the whole game. Next thing you know, I get in the game, and we draw up some kind of play, and they were like, oh, yeah, well, Zach played quarterback in high school, so we need somebody. We can throw the ball from one end of the court to the other. Threw a bad pass. And coaches and them, they were like, well, you know, I thought you played quarterback in high school. I was like, yeah, I did, but I was an option quarterback. I didn't throw much. So that was a funny story. And ED killed me about it, too, after the game. He killed me about that one. But that was a funny story.
Now I'm going to go off script for this question just because I know your answer because I've known you for a long time now. But you know, student athlete, you know, a lot of times people forget that you guys, you know, are students first, but you come from very humble beginnings. What was it like? You know, you played in 2 NCAA tournaments, but when you walked across and got your degree, what was that like for you?
It was relief. It was a sense of accomplishment. Not many people had went to college in my family. Not many people had graduated from college in my family. So it was a way for me to kind of turn a new leaf, just to show my family and some of the younger people that, hey, you know, if you work hard at it, it's something you can do. It's an accomplishment that you can achieve. So that was that's what that meant for me. It also meant the chance that ETSU gave me. I took advantage of it. I was able to go to class. I was able to play basketball, which was both my dreams, and I graduated in 4 years. So that's what it means for me. It was a chance given to me and a chance that I took advantage of.
Well, you know the last question. You've been paying attention, at least. So you have an interesting story how you even found out how you got in the Hall of Fame. But how, you know, when you found out you got in the Hall of Fame, first of all, tell that story. Then your thoughts on it. Now you've had a little bit of time to think about, you know, what it means to you.
My wife actually was the one who told me I got into the Hall of Fame. I'm like BJ. If I don't know a number, I don't answer. I don't answer unrecognized numbers. And I kept getting all of these 423 phone calls. I'm like, who is this? Because I only know a couple. I'm like, who? I'm like, nah. And this went on for like probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And she's at work, and she gets off work. You know, she had a hard day, and she was like, hey, got good news. I'm like, what? She's like, you're in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, whatever. And I can't tell you what she said, but she was like, you in the Hall of Fame. Here, look. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, that explains all of the calls. And she was like, yeah, you might want to answer your phone sometimes. Not to mention, I think Mr. Plummer had been trying to get in touch with me forever, and he reached out to her. Tom Comrade, same way. He even told me, he was like, if you don't call me, I'm going to call your wife. So needless to say, I called him immediately. I didn't want him calling her, and because then, I mean, I was going to get in more trouble. No, I didn't want that. But that's how I found out about the Hall of Fame, is through her and Facebook. Very funny, but I'm very humbled. I'm very honored to even be sitting up here. It's something I never thought about. All I wanted to do was just come to school, graduate, and play. That was my main thing, and Me being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I guess it means I did a little something right. I did something right, and but it mainly just means I took advantage of my opportunity and I made the most of it. So that's what that means to me.
Zakee Wadood. Nice, Zach. Appreciate you, baby. In just a second, we're going to get the president, Dr. Nolan, to come up and say something. He's going to come up and address it, and after that, what we want is all the Hall of Famers to come and stand by their pictures. We're going to get a photo op. We also have a Hall of Fame pin that we're going to give you, but we want to document this with some photos, and then also we encourage after that you and your families to come up and get the pictures with your photos as well. But if you would help me welcome the president here at ETSU, Dr. Brian Nolan.
Thank you to everyone. Good evening. On behalf of the 2,300 faculty and staff and almost 15,000 students who call East Tennessee State University home, I have the honor tonight of saying congratulations. Saying congratulations to you not only on your accomplishments here at the institution, but on your accomplishments in life. My favorite day of the academic year is commencement. Commencement is the point in time in which students have the opportunity to realize their dreams. But it's not only their dreams, it's the dreams of their family, and it's the dreams of those that follow. And as you heard Zakee say, not only did that degree in that moment transform his life, it will have the opportunity to transform the life of his children and the next generation and the next generation. We are an institution that was founded in 1911 for a singular purpose, and that was to improve the quality of life for the people of this region. And over the course of the past 104 years, I think we've done that job pretty well. And tonight's a validation of how well we have done that job. But tonight's also a validation of the commitment that we have as an institution to keep the things that you've done moving forward. All of the coaches of the respective programs that you represent are here tonight. From Coach Torbush to Coach Forbes to Coach Sayers to Coach Warren to Coach Watts. They're here so that they have the opportunity to learn from your stories and to pass those along to the next generation of student athletes. But they're also here tonight to share with you the stories of those who are walking in your footsteps. This is a wonderful institution, but it's more than an institution, it's a family. There are faculty members here tonight, Dr. Epps, Dr. Quasro, and I'm sure that there are others. At few universities in the country would you find administration, coaches, and faculty here tonight celebrating together the accomplishments of the members of the ETSU family. I hope that you can continue to come back and celebrate with us. There are a lot of wonderful things that are happening at this institution, from an overtime game today, and boy, I'm glad he missed that free throw, to a women's victory in Mercer. Golf is right around the corner. Coach, I think you all begin here in about 3 weeks. This is a time in which things are coming alive. Nice Longer Invitational last week. Who was it that said they loved the dome? I'm not with you. One of my favorite things was a video that folks from the Nice Longer digital media program demonstrated, which was Godzilla coming out of the dome and doing like that and breaking it in half. It's a great place for us to practice. If you've not had a chance to be inside the dome, please look at the things that we've done to bring life to that facility. But please come back and join us in a year when we open our new on-campus stadium for football. Come back and join us next year when you see the things that have happened to continue to revitalize Freedom Hall. But come back. We need you. We're a stronger institution because of the things that you have accomplished, and we'll be a stronger institution because of the examples of excellence that you established for our student body. The mantra of the athletic department is excellence every day, and that's what we celebrate tonight, excellence. I thank you for what you've done. I thank your families. I thank our coaches for being here tonight. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with and to serve a beautiful, beautiful institution with the most perfect mission in the world to improve the quality of life for the people of this region. We've improved the quality of life for everyone in this room tonight. Carry that message forward. Carry that message forward of the great things that happen with ETSU. Godspeed to every single one of you, and most importantly, go Bucks!
So if we get the Hall of Famers over here. Help me out by this.